Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of the internet, welcome to the Fried Rice Show. Fried rice is a really fun dish because you can do a lot with it. You can spice it in a bunch of different ways. You can make a vegetarian, not vegetarian. You can take whatever the is in your fridge and throw that in there, and it's probably gonna taste pretty good. And it's super, super, super simple to make. And it's also impresses people. People are always like mad impressed when you make fried rice. And you're just like, yo, it's some vegetables stir fried in a pan with some rice on there. But somehow or another, it works and people are excited about it. So I really like it. I make it a lot. And the other thing I love about it is that you end up with leftovers and you can heat that the next day and it's delicious. So I do a little bit of an unconventional fried rice. If you have not already, bust out whatever pan you're cooking in. I highly recommend cast irons. Even better than a cast iron is an enameled cast iron, which I'll show you. This is an enameled cast iron. You can see it's got the enamel on there, which makes it a lot harder for the fried rice to stick to. Also heats up a little faster because it's thinner, but for whatever reason I'm not using it, even though it is better. So whatever pan you've got going, let's turn on and get on just real kind of medium to low heat to start warming up that cast iron. If it's a thin pan, put it on low heat. And I can see that we've got, Susie says she has an electric wok from the 80s. Damn, doing the damn thing. By the way.
What temperature do I turn it to?
Okay. So turn that thing to medium low if it's an electric wok, okay? We're gonna go medium low on that joint. Another thing to mention is I did not follow my own advice. I told you guys, cook your rice the day before, put it in the fridge, it's gonna be awesome, it's gonna be hard. I cooked my 5 minutes ago because I was running late, so it'll still be good if you just cooked your rice. So, one thing that is unconventional about fried rice is onions. Shrek once said, ogres are like onions because they have layers. So keep that in mind when you're dealing with onions. By the way, if you want to be funky, fresh, dope, yum, yum, you can f around with some onion goggles. Boom, stop yourself from crying. And if you're not this turbo, then you know what, don't worry about it. But if you want a pair of onion goggles, message me on Slack and I will send you some. So, I'm getting a yawn from the grandma over here. My wife's mom gave me a crazy yawn just now. That was hilarious. And she also was talking about my apron, telling me I had it on backwards, which she was right about. I don't know if you can hear her in the background. So, onions. These are unconventional. And the reason they're unconventional in fried rice is they take a little longer to cook. Normal ingredients in fried rice cook in like a minute each, and you turn the pan up real high and you just turn and burn. I really like the flavor of an actual onion, which is why I have the pan on real kind of medium to low. And while we're doing all of our chopping, we're gonna cook our onion and get it nice and caramelized. So the onion actually has a really fun way that you can cut it. So the first thing I do is I cut it down the middle. By the way, notice how I have the knife. Notice that I am pinching the bottom of the knife. I don't know if you can see that. That gives you so much control over knives. That's what the chefs do. They don't hold like this. Like this, you don't have control. Here, when you literally pinch the bottom of your knife, you have a crazy amount of control, and that's how you move super fast. So I got my knife pinch. I'm gonna save this other half. What I like to do is cut off the top, cut off the bottom. By the way, one other thing I didn't tell you, get a stack of bowls, because we're gonna be throwing all kinds of shit in bowls, so we want a lot of bowls. I always have one bowl that is lovingly referred to as the bowl. It's where all the goes, also known as compost. And these poor little diapers that are with Brittany are hearing a bunch of curse words for the first time in their life, probably. And I apologize. But at the same time, dude, the world is, it's a big world out there, and at some point somebody's got to initiate you, so I don't mind being that person. Now, the first thing I do is I peel the whole top layer off that joint. I say ogres are like onions and they have layers, and I throw that down, dude, get rid of that. Boom, whole layer gone, okay? So now I'm funky and I'm fresh. Now, we're gonna do a traditional dice on this. So, By the way, if you want to stop me or slow me down, feel free to at any moment. But I'm going to keep moving. So the dice is one of your better chopping techniques, and it is used pretty much with anything you'll cook. You're going to dice something. So I have my nice pinch. This is called the bear claw. It's a bear claw. Put your bear claw at the back of the onion. In this case, I'm not going to do that quite yet. I'm going to cut straight through the center of the onion like this, kind of like in half. So I'm going to hold my hands on top of it like that, and I'm going to cut straight through the center, not all the way to the back, but close. And you can see that's a real low. Should have been in half, but I didn't quite do it right. It's too low. In any case, boom, I have that. So I got it kind of almost all the way to the back, through the bottom, and then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. So now it's in half, and I've got chops in it, and now you bear claw that joint. The reason you bear claw is if you hold like this, you can cut your fingers. If your fingers are behind it, you can never cut them. You'll only ever get to here. So you're going to have your pinch. You're going to put your knife up. Boom, and then you just move the knife and push forward. So you push forward, you move the knife, and you can do this real fast as you get skilled at it. But at first, you move real slow, and you just push your onion forward with your bear claw, and you dice. Bear claw, dice. Bear claw, dice. And then the problem with the bear claw technique is at the very end, you end up with the butt of the onion. So what I like to do with the butt of the onion, by the way, that's pretty gnarly, so I get rid of that little piece right there, I didn't cut enough off, is I just turn it on its side, and I just bear claw that. Boom. And that is a really beautiful dice. So, straight down the middle, chop, 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 bear claw, pinch, like this. And we have our onion. So, now, take my sesame oil here, and I'm going to do a generous pour. See that nice generous pour right there? And I'm going to grab, by the way, this is the Aisha Curry, Steph Curry's wife for you basketball fans, apron line and chambray pot holder line from Caft Home if you want to around and get some fancy Boom. All right. I like to put this on, but it's going to be loud, so I'm going to leave it off, which is my oven thingy-majigger. So, I give this a nice bam, put that in there just like that. And then I'm a big fan myself of wooden utensils. I basically do everything with wood. I like wood. So I'm going to mix these around a little bit. Mix these around, and I'm going to turn it up just to like about medium. And while we are doing the rest of our mise en place, our chopping, these joints are going to be cooking down in our sesame oil. After our onions, the next two items that are going to go in to our stir fry is our ginger and our garlic. Oh, damn, we lost the garlic, dude. Garlic down. Garlic down. Oh, garlic back. So, the way that most people do garlic, is they smash, they put the knife on it, right? They put the knife on it and they smash, boom, which is a great way to break your garlic up. However, I don't know, why am I still wearing these? Nobody mentioned I still had these things on? God damn. They make your eyes sweat. They don't make you cry, they make your eyes sweat. You can get one of these silicone tubes, okay? Silicone tubes, put your garlic in it. Yeah, give it the old stomping stuff, we call it. The old roly-poly. Pull that out of there. Perfectly peeled garlic. Pretty fancy, okay? Put that in there. Now if you want to see the other technique, and look at all that, all the garlic in there, the peel. The other technique, first of all, this one's a little rotten, so I'm going to go ahead and pull the rotten part out, put it in my bowl. You might be wondering, Ez, why do you have a cutting board on a cutting board? That seems like overkill. That seems redundant. You don't need a cutting board on top of a cutting board. And you would be right. This cutting board is giant. This cutting board is light and easy to clean. So I like to put this cutting board on top of the big one, so I only have to clean this small one, which means I probably don't need this big one, but I do like the way it looks. So, by the way, let's come back to the pan for a second. You see how these onions are starting to brown just a little bit? They're starting to brown up a tiny bit. You don't want them to get overly brown, so you want them, if you notice that they're getting real dark, you gotta turn your heat down. And if they're starting to brown just a little bit, you wanna just mix them a little bit, kind of get them stirring. And if they don't go quick enough, one little trick we might use is to cover them. So, oftentimes I will cover them. I'm not gonna do it quite yet, but I probably will have to kind of speed up the process of caramelization. Okay, so the other way to do garlic, which is fun, is you put, not the tip, this is bad, always the base of the knife. The knife is not gonna slide when the base. It's gonna slide here, because here it has all this wiggle room. So always the base, your palm, a lot of people smash it, don't smash it. Just your palm, a little bit of pressure. Don't slam it, just a little bit of pressure on it, boom. And what you'll notice is that splits open the garlic. You see that split? And this is also rotten and gnarly, but that'll split it open. All my garlic is rotten. And then you can peel it. So I will grab another thing, base, press, nice and split, and didn't quite do it enough. Split, boom, there we go. And then look at that, just peels out beautifully. You call me Emerald Lagasse, dude. You call me Bobby Flay out here. Call me Padma Lakshmi, just doing it. Gonna cut off this little rotten part. Okay, now, I also like to occasionally clear my cutting board of onion and garlic stuff. So I got my garlic. This is just a straight up, old school, original, you know, just a garlic chop, dude, which is you basically just take your garlic, make sure your thumb's not in there, make sure you got your nice pinch on your knife, and you just chop, 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 chop. Call this the old chopperson. The other thing I'll do is I'll take my wooden spoon, I will take my garlic off that like that, give it the old scrape, chop, 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 chop. You want to get it kind of nice and small, and the garlic can go in. Once you got it nice and chopped, the garlic can go in right with the onions, get stirred around. Take our garlic, put it right in here. I did 2 cloves. Some people like a lot more garlic than that. Garlic is a really dominant flavor, and so I'm not a fan of overdoing it. I find that 2 cloves, oh y'all, we got a hair in there. Ladies and gentlemen, we have got a hair. We have got ourselves, oh damn, dude, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, dude. We got ourselves a hair, y'all. Here, let's come out right here. That is a hair right there, dude. You don't want that. That's not good, dude. That's how you get your meal returned at a restaurant. Okay, speed this up. I'm gonna cover it. Just let that cover. Ginger. Notice I've got my paring knife out. Ginger is hard to peel with a giant ass knife, dude. So I take my paring knife, and what I like to do is cut a flat surface. So I cut a flat surface like that on my ginger, and then I set it down, because ginger doesn't really have a flat surface, so I got a flat surface now, and then I just, with my paring knife, my small little paring knife, I peel the skin off of the ginger, doing my best to leave as much ginger as possible and only just get peel off of there, but you do end up losing a little ginger. If you are into sustainability and renewal and reusing, you can save these ginger peels and make ginger tea out of it, which is delicious. So I just peel that, peel that, peel that, and get all of my ginger peeled, so I should have a nice chunk like that. This is probably double the amount that you need for fried rice. Look at that. That's like the size of my thumb. I got big ass hands too, so it's probably like 2 or 3 of your thumbs. You only need half of that. Ginger's a really dominant flavor. So if you want, you can save your ginger peels and make tea out of them, but you don't have to. Now look, with the lid on, look at how brown it got. Because the lid adds steam, which adds heat, which then browns it up a little faster. So this is getting, you see that? That's black right there. It's getting a little too brown for me, so I'm gonna take this heat down just a tad, just down to, it was on medium, it's now on medium low. And what that's gonna do is ensure that I don't burn my onions, because if you burn the onion, you're gonna get that burnt onion flavor. So I'm gonna take half of this ginger. This other half I'm gonna save for later. And ginger's funny. So ginger, what you wanna do is you wanna cut with the grain. So you can see where the grain is if you look at your ginger closely. So you wanna cut down with the grain. And again, you've got your nice, always have your pinch. And ginger is really, really small. So it's a lot easier to cut when you have that flat surface that I cut. So come down like this. Boom. Now I have all my little ginger what have yous. And if you want to be real fancy about it, you go again with the grain. But if you don't want to be fancy about it, you just get ham hog wild and you just chop, 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 chop. And I tend to not be too fancy, so I just do my ginger chopping. Now look at the amount of ginger I have here. That's a lot of ginger, dude. Now come back over here. That's a lot of ginger. So that's actually too much ginger. If you find yourself with a pile of ginger that big, you found yourself with too much ginger, dude. So I'm gonna take half my ginger pile, a good old-fashioned knife full. Take a look at that. Good old-fashioned, you know, a little bit like that. Bam, I'm gonna throw that. I'm gonna take the rest of my ginger. I'm gonna get a little saving dish, because I'm a big fan of ginger. I use it for tea. I use it for all kinds of different baking and desserts and so I'll go ahead and save my ginger. Put that to the side. Now, we're gonna stir this up. Stir, stir, stir. And now our onions are translucent. You see that? That's what you want. You want translucent onions. That's when you know you're getting somewhere. That is looking really good. Now the ginger, because we're on low heat, the ginger is not going to cook up unless we put the lid on. We could turn the heat back high, but we haven't done the rest of our mise en place, so we're gonna leave it on low heat. We're gonna leave the lid on. Let those onions sweat. Now we have the next items, which are the green onions. Now the green onions are funny because they are not like ogres. They do not have layers. I'm gonna go ahead and cut the edge of our little onions. These are our little Sideshow Bob, Marge Simpson, haired ass looking green onion tops. Throw those down. So with your green onions, you always peel the first layer off. Always peel the first layer off, okay? So I already did that for these actually, but this one still has that bottom layer. And then what I like to do with my green onions actually, see this layer here? That's gnarly, dude. You don't want that. You want to get that out of there. You want to get that first layer off. And then, if you really want to be fancy about it, you would rinse these. You would rinse them to get the gooiness off. Now, because I'm moving quickly, I'm not going to rinse them, but you could. But you always want to peel that first layer off to get totally clean, no dirt, none of that. Pinch technique. And you want to dice these small. Nice and small. And if you want, which is kind of fun, if you really love a sharp green onion flavor, you can save these tops for the garnish. I'm a big fan of that real sharp green onion, like miso soup kind of flavor. So I like to save these tops, just a few of them, and garnish with them. But the rest of these joints, what I do is, and now, by the way, boom, we're golden. We do not need to cook with the lid on anymore. We are solid potato salad, as they say in certain circles. We got nice translucent onions. Our ginger is cooked. You can see our ginger changed colors. It got a little richer in color. And so now, we're gonna throw in our green onions. Bam, Emeril Lagasse, dude. Bobby Flay, Martha Stewart, Guy Fieri, dude. Diners, drive-ins, and dives out here. All right, I'm gonna mix those things in. Mix, 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 mix. And let those cook down. God damn, son, we got ourselves a nice looking fried rice happening up in here. Okay, so next things that we need to do is our mushrooms. I am a big fan of shiitakes. So I just pull these little caps off. These little mushroom butts. By the way, mushrooms grow, but mushrooms are a useful tool in life. in a number of ways. They're starting to figure out in Denver and places like that. They're useful for consciousness exploration. They're useful for post-traumatic stress recovery therapy. They're also tasty as a and what I like to do is I like shiitakes the best, so I pull the little, oh, by the way, mushrooms are powered by moonlight, and mushrooms are the largest living biomass on planet Earth. The mushrooms are under the forest floor, and they connect to one another, and they send nutrients from the trees to other trees. So through the fungi network, nutrients travel from one tree to another to feed it. And they grow by moonlight. We don't understand a lot of the whole moonlight situation. We understand a lot about that's grown in the sunlight, but not as much about that's grown in the moonlight. So we are going to have our mushrooms here. Our mushrooms, again, we always use our pinch technique. Our mushrooms are just a nice little chop, just a standard mushroom chop. Careful with your fingers on these mushrooms because they're small. Also, if you're cooking in a ring, what are you doing? What are you doing out here cooking in a ring? You're going to put your finger. Look at that. You don't want to be doing that. Put your ring down. Okay. So, chop our mushrooms. Chop, 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 chop. Chop, 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 chop. And we are, by the way, you probably only need 5 or 6 mushrooms. I got like 10 here. That's probably too many because they are a dominant flavor. And so I'm going to stop there. I think that's enough mushrooms. And I'm going to throw these joints in here. Bam! Bam! Throw those motherfuckers in there. Stir them around. Mushrooms. Mushrooms also add a little liquid to the party because these mushrooms are going to sweat a little bit. So I actually want that liquid now. So I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on. I'm going to let those mushrooms sweat just a little bit. So the next thing we're going to do is our cabbage, which, by the way, cabbage actually, of all the ingredients that we have the most cabbage. So I've got a pretty large green cabbage here. I'm gonna chop that. Boom! I don't want any of that. This part here, this little butt. I don't want any of that. So I come on the sides, boom, and I leave that center mass. So I've got kind of the top layer here, and I've got another little layer. So it's probably enough cabbage. So I'll go ahead and set my cabbage down. And the cabbage is fun. You can do the cabbage in a number of ways. And the cabbage contributes to what I like to call mouthfeel. And in cooking, mouthfeel is important, how it feels in the mouth. And so I like to do my cabbage in thin strips, like this. You can also use the bear claw technique on the cabbage. It's big enough. Real nice and thin strips. And then what I do is I cut that in half. So I had my nice thin strips and then I cut them in half. Again, nice and thin. Make sure you got your nice pinch technique. And then in half. Okay, now the cabbage is kind of fun because we're gonna come in here. Notice that we got a little bit of moisture now from those mushrooms. So I'm gonna stir that around, stir that around. My heat's a little high because my onions are getting a little dark, which is okay, but you don't want them too dark. Now, we're gonna throw in our cabbage. Boom, look at how much cabbage there is compared to everything else. There's a lot, dude. There's a lot. With the cabbage is where this ingredient comes in. This is your toasted sesame oil, arguably the most important ingredient because it adds that sort of Chinese flavor that is what this fried rice is all about. I would say 2 teaspoons worth. I'm pretty used to doing it, so I do about a healthy little pour like this. That's about, what I just put in there is about 2 teaspoons worth. And now I'm gonna mix that up. And the cabbage with the, and by the way, at the point of the cabbage is when you might want to consider, if you have them, pair of tongs. Beautiful thing about tongs is it makes it a lot easier to, you can show this here too, Ant, makes it a lot easier to do the old flipsy doodle, the old flip flop, the old flim flam flummox, as some people would say, the old, come back over here, razzle dazzle. So I like to switch to give them the old razzle dazzle. Razzle dazzle 'em. I like to switch to tongs when we go to the cabbage. Now I'm gonna let that cook. I'll probably actually put my lid on, just steam that up a little bit. Now my last ingredient, that's vegetable matter, which by the way, actually before we do this, it's time to work on our protein. For those of you, how many people are adding proteins? Raise your hand. Oh damn, dude, we got some protein people in the building. Okay, so now is the moment where you wanna add your protein. Or you wanna cook your protein so it's ready to add at the end. So what we're gonna do is second pan, okay? And is that in the way, Anthony? You won't be able to see it, will you? It's fine if you can't. If I put it here, is that in the way? Let me see what that looks like. Switch to that. I am a big fan of duck. I know duck is hard to come by, and so if you're using ground beef, chicken, whatever you're using, whether it's ground or not, you can add to this. So what I do is I get my frying pan going over here. The cool thing about duck, it's just a shred. You just shred it, so I don't even have to chop it. If you're doing ground beef, all you're gonna, or chicken, ground chicken or ground turkey or anything like that, all you're gonna do is salt and pepper. You're not gonna add any other spices to it because we don't want whatever spice that you're putting in the meat to overtake the flavor of the fried rice, and the fried rice is an Asian flavor, ginger, garlic. By the way, this ingredient stack is basically Chinese Asian cooking. Ginger, garlic, green onion, toasted sesame oil, and tamari. It's like you really don't need anything else. You can pretty much spice anything you want with that ingredient stack. Okay, so we got our, by the way, I like to save the bones if you're doing bones and make bone broth out of them, but you don't have to get down like that if you don't want. So I'm just gonna let my duck heat up and wash my hands real quick. Let my duck heat up over here. And then the final ingredient that I have, so you basically take your meat, cut it open, put it in your pan, put it on medium heat, saute it, salt and pepper it, and just let it cook it to your desired, however you like to cook your meat. If it's ground meat, it's real easy to do. You just leave it in the pan, stir it occasionally. I'm gonna work on my broccoli florets. Like I told you, half the time I like to do broccoli. This is actually broccolini, and I'm just gonna use the tops, but I'm gonna rinse it first. I'm gonna go rinse it. And there we got that. I'm gonna go ahead and cut just the tops. Boom, get rid of those. So now I just have my broccolini tops, and I'm gonna throw those right on top. And I'm gonna use the old tong method here. Mix those joints around. And these, in order to cook, because I don't have my heat super high, in order to cook these, I am gonna need to steam it a little bit. And then what I like to do when I'm using broccoli, when I'm adding broccoli to the party, is I actually like to throw a little bit of water, just a little bit, just a splash, boom. And that's gonna steam that broccoli nice. And it doesn't take away from the stir fry flavor because I've already stir fried all the other vegetables for super long. Our last couple ingredients are our cilantro. Cilantro. That's nice. Cilantro, take a little bunch here. Just a little bunch of my cilantro. I'm gonna put that back in these joints. I keep my cilantro in a mason jar because I'm hella f***ing Brooklyn hipster, dude. And I be around with mason jars. It's what you learn when you live in Brooklyn back in the day, dude. When you live in Brooklyn in 2008, you learn about the mason jar, dude, the power of the mason jar. And you put everything in a mason jar, including your cilantro. I like to rinse my cilantro. Rinse my cilantro. Now there's a real fun cilantro trick. We call this the Jess Monty. For the lady who showed it to me, we grab our cilantro, we pinch it at the base, take our fork, and we do one of these, dude. Oh my goodness. And just like that, we have successfully separated about 90% of our cilantro, and we just cut these other ones. A lot of people, including my friend Susie Lewiton, use the cilantro stems. I don't like them myself. So our cilantro, we're gonna give a nice chop. Chop, 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 chop. Chop up our cilantro. Now, if you're like in a professional kitchen, you should probably clean your cutting board in between each thing. You can see I got a little cabbage in my cilantro here, but I don't mind a little cabbage in my cilantro. I don't mind a little cottage cheese with my cantaloupe. You know what I'm saying? Jews for cheeses out here. So I'm gonna chop our cilantro. Nobody got that joke, and I apologize for that. Sometimes you gotta try. Sometimes you tell a joke, and even though it's virtual, you can tell that basically just like a virtual tumbleweed rolled by and nobody responded at all, and it was just bad. It just didn't land. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, look at that. Oh my goodness. That looks good. So, go ahead and just test one of my florets. Oh yeah, that's done. Okay, my broccoli's been steamed. My nice flavor on there. Don't want it to steam too much because I want my veggies to be wet. Keep my cilantro chopping. You want to get the cilantro real nice and fine. Boom. Okay, that's looking pretty good. The cilantro, as you may remember, is going to be a garnish. It's going to be a garnish. Okay. So we're going to take our cilantro. We're going to put it in our garnish bowl here. This is our garnish bowl. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we got our garnish bowl. Oh, cilantro smells so good. Throw that up in the air and just have a bath in it. Set that down. Okay. Now, we add the arroz. The arroz. This is our rice. By the way, what you want to be doing is stirring your meat the whole time. Keep your meat nice and stirring up. All right, so for your rice, okay, you want equal parts vegetable matter. Come back to here. Equal parts vegetable matter to rice, okay? Vegetable matter, I got about a half a pan in this joint. So I'm gonna grab my rice just with my hand, just like that. I'm just gonna sprinkle that there. Oh my goodness, dude. Look at that. All right, not quite enough. Gonna go ahead and get another. Oh my goodness, look at that. We got some rice. And I'm gonna do one more sprinkle. And now I've got about the same amount of rice as I do vegetables. Now for those of you that cooked your rice ahead of time, like good students who are not my combined grade point average in school before I got thrown out was about a 1.6. So I up in school all crazy, and they threw me out of there. Got expelled from high school. They told me I was never going to make it, and that in the eyes of the school system, I was considered pretty dumb. But I ended up making it anyways. I still am not very good at all the school type. But in any case, why was I talking about school? I don't know. But here's what we're doing. Because you guys did well and you passed your assignment, you did what I asked you to do, which was to cook your rice ahead of time. So I didn't do that, so my rice is already hot. But if yours isn't, what you want to do now, once the rice is in the pan, is you want to mix it in. And this is actually a really good time to use your tongs. You want to do the old turnover technique. We call this the old lift and shift, the Mississippi muffin top over here, dude, the Alabama waterfall. Some people call this the squirrel pelt. Other people have been known to call it the Tennessee mud flaps. Just gonna turn this like that, and we are looking solid, ladies and gentlemen. So, if your rice is cold, it is at this time, ladies and gentlemen, that you are going to want to steam it. So you want to turn your heat up. You want to put that lid on. My protein is now done, so I'm going to turn off my protein. It's ready to go. It's ready to be put on. Totally perfectly good. Will be delicious on any fried rice. So you would steam that up. Now, while that's cooking, for those of you that are interested in having an egg flavor, your rice has to be hot. Your vegetables have to be hot in order for the egg to work. You crack the egg in there and you stir it around. It cooks in there. So for me, my rice is not quite hot enough for that at the moment. Let's see. It is. Totally is. So what we're going to do is we are going to turn off, once it's hot enough for you, okay? Once it's totally hot, everything's good, real hot in there, you turn it off, and then you take your egg. By the way, you want to see something fancy right here? Watch this. Oh my goodness, dude. You just crack that joint right in there. Crack that right in there. And you just give it, let's go right here, the old stir around, dude. You just stir that joint around in there all crazy as much as you can. Stir, 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 and it just cooks. It cooks in there, which is nice. And it's actually better if you have this kind of situation, because then you can get all the rice mixed in there. You get your egg nice and cooked in there, which is really, really tasty. And I'm gonna turn my heat back on because it actually wasn't quite hot enough. So if it's not cooking all the way, you just put your heat back on a little bit. You let that egg cook up in there. And you don't want the egg to, you don't want to like see the egg, basically. The egg should kind of disappear, but it's got to be hot enough that it is actually cooked. Otherwise, you just got raw, nasty ass egg like you're a bodybuilder who drinks raw eggs and thinks it's cool when everybody knows it's not. Well, I guess it is. I guess if that's your thing, you know what, dude? We're not going to judge you. We're going to let you drink raw eggs and enjoy yourself in that way. But on the sly, we're going to be like, damn, that looks nasty, dude. But good for you. Enjoy your life. Then you turn it off. And now what you should have is egg fully cooked in there, but you can't actually see it. Just add some stickiness and add some flavor. So, wash your hands. Okay, now we have all of our vegetables. Basically what we did was we sweat our onion, we added our garlic, we added our ginger, we added our scallions, we added our mushrooms, we added our cabbage, we put in our toasted sesame oil, we then added our broccoli florets, we let that sweat, heated that all up, added our rice on top, let that heat up, cracked our 2 eggs in there after we turned the heat off, generally stirred that around, and now we have our shoyu, our tamari, and this is essentially Asian salt, right? This is how you get your salt flavor in this dish. So we're going to do a nice healthy pour of tamari. And you don't want to do too much, so you start with, what I would say is essentially 2 tablespoons worth. Mix that in. Because if you over tamari it, there's no coming back. You can always add more, but you can never take out. So I do about 2 tablespoons, which would be essentially the equivalent to what I just poured in there. You can start with 1 tablespoon and just see how that feels for you. And go from there. I do like the flavor of tamari, and I do like tamari heavy fried rice. I really like that flavor to come through. So now, the all-important final test before we plate and serve to our diners. Okay? So make sure you get a little bit of everything in there. Blow, blow, blow. Oh my God. Dude, that shit is so good. Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen. That is really good. Wow. Don't forget about your lime. Okay, now, so the protein you put on, I'll show you the protein. The cool thing about the protein, because right now, this is still vegetarian. It's got 2 eggs, but a lot of vegetarians eat eggs. So I always keep the protein separate because what I do with the protein is I put it on with each plate, which allows me to get certain portions to have more protein than less. Like my wife, Carrie, will eat less protein in a meal than me, so I'll keep the protein separate. I'll plate the rice, then I'm gonna plate the protein, plate the garnish, and then for some people, put some avocado on there and then dress it with a little bit of lime, and it's shooter, ready to go. What else do we get?
Bean sprouts is.
Okay, I forgot to mention this. This was a failure on my part. Any other vegetables that you had, including the bean sprouts, which are so good, those should have all been put in when the broccoli and the cabbage got put in. So all the rest of your vegetables, dude, they should have gone in there. That was my bad. I screwed that up, but you can still put them in now. What you can do though, real quick with those, if you still have these extra vegetables that were supposed to go in there, but I did not direct you because I failed at that, you get a separate pot, a separate pan, a little bit of sesame oil, and you just stir fry those up, and then you can throw them right in. But they really should have gone in with the broccoli and the cabbage, so that's my bad. The dishes that you plate in are very important. I like to eat fried rice out of a bowl. So I got my nice bowl here, my nice ceramic bowl. And we need a serving spoon, which I don't have. Here we go. Let's see, what kind of serving spoon do I got? Here we go. So we are gonna get a couple scoops right into our bowl. I usually like to do 3 scoops per person. So that's a triple scoop right there, you can see that. Then I'm gonna, add my protein onto that. Just a little bit of protein on there. Take a bite of the protein. And then, usually if I'm cooking this for myself, I'll add avocado on there because I like extra fat. But if I'm serving this to Anthony, for example, I'm not gonna have avocado. I take my garnish. This is my cilantro garnish. I garnish it with cilantro. And then cut my lime, drizzle it with a little bit of lime because you need acid. So right now we have salt, we have fat, we have heat, but we don't have any acid. We got protein, we got carbs, so the lime gives you a little bit of acid, and you end up with a beautiful bowl of fried rice. Probably doesn't look too good in the camera, but is freaking delicious. We'll go ahead and take a bite. Oh my God, perfect. So, we're gonna let Anthony, the cameraman, come around here and be the judge of this. Come on, brother, come on around. Yeah, big franchise, double champ.
Hey, everybody.
Tell him what you think, dog.
All right,
Get up in here, here we go, get up in here.
Here we go.
Okay, first of all, that was a ass bite, dude. You didn't get none on there.
I'm gonna get some protein real quick.
Get in there, here you go. Get a real bite. Hell yeah, son. That's for you, dog. That's for you. That's all you. All right, get back there. All right. So, let's take a look at what Elise said. Elise said, add a bit of fish sauce. Hell yeah, dude. Fish sauce is fun. The beauty of this recipe is you can put anything in it. You can spice it up in any way you want. This is a good base. This is a very, very simple base. Our flavor profile here is tamari, sesame oil, and toasted sesame oil. That's our whole flavor profile, so you can build on top of that. I really like to taste the vegetables coming through. I really like a super simple fried rice where I can really taste the protein, just a little bit of lime, but you can around and do anything you want. All right, y'all, we did it. We made ourselves some fried rice. Super delicious, really easy to make. I hope you add it to your cooking routine, and I hope you find it as delicious as I do. Peace out.